In this video, we're going to create the Google map and also write code to show and hide elements and create the calendar input. Before we go ahead, let's just have a quick look at the footer of our model and just change it to match this one. So in the footer, we're going to have a create trip button. So let's change this input here. So instead of a green class, I'm going to give it a button primary class. And let's give it a name create trip. And it's still a submit button, and the value is going to be create trip. Okay, and let's leave the cancel button as it is. So if we save and refresh, okay, that looks good. Okay, now let's create the map. So the map comes just before the first input. So let's give it an ID, Google Map. So we're going to give it the same ID we used in the index.php file so that we can use the same JavaScript file we used for the landing page. So if we go to the bottom of the page, we can add a script, and the source is going to be our map.js file. So you're going to use that file to show the Google map and also to use the autocomplete feature. If you remember, we called the departure and destination fields inside the landing page. Okay, we call them the same as we did inside our model, so they have the same IDs. So you can go ahead and use the same JavaScript code that we used inside our map.js file. Okay. Okay, so we will need to do something here. Okay, before we go ahead, we will need to open the index.php file and copy this script to be able to use Google Maps. All right, so now let's save and refresh the page. And let's see. Okay, so the map is right there. Okay, but it doesn't work. Okay, so you're going to need to fix this by adding a couple of lines to our JavaScript code. So let's fix the map. So what we're going to do, we're going to write a statement when we open the model. So we're going to select the form, okay, using its ID, which is add, or selects the model using its ID, which is add trip model. Let's just check. And we're going to say when the module opens, then execute a function. So you're going to have a couple of arguments there. So the first one is going to be shown.bs.module. So this means that when the module shows, shown instead of show, then execute this function. So we're gonna use a method of google.maps.event. So the method is going to be trigger. So you're going to use the map variable, which we created earlier in the map.js file, and we're going to add an argument here, which is resize. So that's the easiest way to fix this problem. Okay, so if I refresh the page now and open the module, then I can see the map. Okay, but we've got one problem here. If I try the autocomplete feature, it looks like it actually doesn't work. Okay, but if I just press the bottom arrow, then I can see actually the Google suggestions appearing. Okay, and we can see also the route on the map. So what's happening here is that the drop down menu is actually hidden, and that's something caused by the module backdrop. So this is something in the CSS settings of Bootstrap. So we're going to need to fix this. To do this, we're going to go to CSS styling and just add a couple of lines there. So we're going to give the module itself, or the module class, a Z index of 20, for example, and we're going to give a lower Z index to the module backdrop class. Okay, so let's go for 10, for example. So this will fix this problem, and we can see the drop down menu. So let's save and refresh. So now we can see the Google autocomplete suggestions there, and we can see them there as well. All right. Let's also change the styling of the map and make it smaller like that. So it selects the map using its ID. And let's set the width to something like 300 and the height to 200. Okay, so it's already sunset, but let's just add some margin. So top and bottom, let's go for 30 pixel and auto for left and right. Okay, that looks okay. All right. All right, now let's hide and show elements when we click on the regular and the one-off radio buttons. Okay, so we would like to do something like this. So when we click on regular, we're going to show the weekdays and the time, and when we click on one-off, we're going to show the date and time. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is by going to these elements and giving them two different classes. So we're going to give a class regular to all the regular elements, and then we're going to give a class one-off to all the one-off elements. And we're going to use that class to show or hide the elements, okay, in different cases. So let's go back to our form and find these elements. So let's start with the regular ones. So we've got the weekdays and the time. So each of these is going to have a class that we're going to call regular. Okay, and then we're going to need a class one-off for the others. So we're gonna have a one-off class for the date. Okay, this is supposed to be date, not time. Okay, so regular was supposed to be there. Okay, so one-off is going to go for the date and time. Okay, so now we've got our classes. So the first thing we're going to do when we just load the page is that we're going to hide everything, okay? And then we will show things that are relevant, okay? So let's just try from the beginning. So right at the beginning, we don't see any of those fields, okay? So we're going to hide all of them, okay? So we're going to hide all the date, time, and checkbox inputs. Okay, so to do that, we're going to select these elements using their classes. So we're going to hide all elements of class irregular using the hide method. And also we're going to hide all elements of class one-off. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, so we can see all the elements have been hidden. Okay, so now we're going to write code so that when we click on regular, we can see the weekdays and time. And when we click on one-off, we can see the date and time. So first of all, we're going to select the radio button. Okay, so to select the radio button, we're going to create a variable that we're going to call myRadio. Okay, where we're going to store the selection of the radio button. So to select it, we can use the name of the button. So the way to do that is by selecting all inputs with a name attribute equal to regular. Okay. That's the radio button, and we've got the regular name there. All right. So now we have selected our radio button. So now we're going to say, if we click on one of these regular buttons, then show or hide elements. So we're going to use the click method, which will take a function as a parameter. So we're going to check if this element is clicked or checked, then we're going to check, is it a yes for regular or no? And depending on whether it's yes or no, we're going to show or hide certain elements. So if this element, so we're going to select the elements using the keyword this. So to say if it's checked, we can use the is method, which will take as a parameter something like this, checked. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to check now the value. So if the value of this is yes, like that. Okay, if you remember, we had two values there. We had yes for regular, and we had no for a one-off. Okay, so if that's the case, then we're going to hide the one-off fields and show the irregular fields. Okay. Else, we're going to show the one-off fields and hide the regular ones, just like this. All right. All right. Now, before I go ahead, we're just going to make a quick change right there. Okay. So let's save, refresh the page, and then try our code. So if I click on regular, I can't see all the regular elements. But if I click on one-off, I can still see all of them. Again, regular, one-off. Okay, so we're missing something in regular. So the reason why is because when we click on the regular radio button, we actually show the regular elements first, then hide the one-off elements. If you remember, we had one element, which is both regular and one-off. If you show that element first and then hide it, then it's going to be hidden anyway. Okay, so to fix this, we're going to need to hide elements first, then show them. So I'm just going to swap these two statements like that. All right, so always hide things, then show them. So let's save and refresh. There we go. And now it works perfectly. All right. Let's add a little bit of space above the time input. So let's give this input an extra class time, and let's add some margin top. Of 10 pixel, for example. Okay, that looks all right. All right, in the next video, we're going to add the jQuery UI calendar input, and then we're going to move to the edit form.